So I'm going to talk today about my spiritual awakening story, and so is John, who is going to be coming on very soon. And I'm just really excited to just share how it all came about in my life because it happened really spontaneously, and I'm still going through it today. So, all right, I'm gonna invite John to come on, and we'll begin. How do I do this? How do I invite John? All right. So I invited John to come on. Hey, John.
Hey, Shelly, how are you?
I'm doing so good. How are you? Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you, yeah. How about you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you really well. So
Cool.
excited to be sharing I'm really excited to hear your spiritual awakening story and all of that. And I'm excited to share mine as well.
Likewise, yeah, me too. I'm really excited. This is a great time.
Yeah, one second. I'm just trying to set up my camera here. I have
Okay,
a really weird setup here, so I can barely see your face. I have to look down. Let's see. I can only see mine, but it's okay. So yeah, I think our internet's gonna be pretty stable. So let's just do it.
okay, cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, so I just did a meditation to prepare for this, and
Nice.
it was amazing. So yeah, how was your day today?
It's been great so far. Yeah, it's a beautiful day here. The sun is shining. It's been nice. Yeah, I feel
Wow.
prepared also. How about yours?
It's been so nice. I was outside all day. I live on a farm right now, so
Oh,
um,
nice.
yeah, spending a lot of time outside. Lots of sunshine today. I had lots of fruit. And
Yeah,
tonight I'm gonna have something interesting as well. But yeah, I just spent a lot of time outside, and I
yeah.
had a pretty calm day today, so I didn't really do as much. Um, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, same. It's my day off, so I spent time outside this morning. I blended up some watermelon and fresh squeezed lemon juice just now, so I'm sipping on that. It's been great. Just yeah, just enjoying the day.
Amazing. So where do you think we should begin? Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Um, yeah, how about ladies first? You, if you'd like to, you can go first. I would love that. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where do I begin? It's been a very, very long journey, like a very long journey. I feel like our awakenings as human beings start from when we're like really, really young. And then at some point, there is a lot of distractions that start to come into our lives, and we forget about that. Like we forget, we stop, and then we continue when we're older. I feel really, really blessed and really grateful to be um, to remember who I am, I would say, at a pretty young age, because I know so many of my friends, so many of my old friends that I used to have in school, they're like completely, they're on a different path, like they're super, super distracted. So I had to let go of a lot of friends along the way. But I feel like my journey really resumed, I would say, like it really, really started to get um, active when I started traveling a lot. So me and my family used to live a really stable life at some point when I was really young. We used to live in Atlanta, Georgia for a long time actually. And then we started moving around from place to place. And eventually we started moving to different countries and getting to see different cultures and getting to experience different kinds of people. And yeah, that's when it really started for me. I had to let go of a lot of friends when I was traveling, so I didn't have as many distractions. And then I stopped going to school when I was in like fifth grade. And my mom and my dad allowed me and my brother to be homeschooled for a while. So I feel like what triggered my awakening was also getting out of the system, the school system, at such a young age. Um, yeah, and then I started traveling a lot. And I feel like another thing that triggered my awakening was constantly being in a state of the unknown. So like when me and my family travel, we pick like a destination and then we just go there. And you know, we have no expectations. We don't know anyone there at the country that we're planning to go to. We just go and if we like it, we stay. So yeah, constantly being in this state of the unknown is what really triggered my awakening. And yeah, so it got pretty interesting. And it's not like butterflies and rainbows. That's what a lot of people need to understand. Um, it's not easy. We all have our shadow side that's really loud in some people. And let me tell you something, mine was extremely loud in my younger years. And I had so much anger and rage within me when I was young and I never knew where it came from, you know? And of course, external factors triggered it. Like I got mercury poisoning. I got like 12 mercury fillings in my teeth at the age of 3. So, you know, that's a lot for such a small little human to experience. So that definitely triggered a lot of that anger that I was experiencing. But it was a much deeper like anger that I felt and I didn't know where it came from. And so when I started going through this spiritual awakening process, all that anger started coming up and it was super uncomfortable, and I'm still going through a lot of that and shedding layer by layer every single day, and it's not easy, but I feel like I'm doing pretty good. But yeah, it's not butterflies and rainbows. It's actually a lot. It's a lot, you know, to face and to there's a lot to overcome on this journey. But yeah, I feel like when I moved to Montenegro, where I'm at now, that's when so many things started happening. Because before that, I was still distracted. You know, I was still in the matrix, I would say. Like, um, I was a people pleaser, a really big people pleaser. And I was like always shy and super self-conscious, which, you know, is normal for any young person to experience. But when I moved to this country, I feel like a whole new dimension opened up for me and my family, you know, because we came here with no expectations. We kind of escaped from the US. I told a lot of people this story, but when COVID got like really bad in the US, and you know, I don't want to mention because I don't know if I'll get censored, but like, you know, five
Yeah.
G. Yeah. So that happened, and we experienced a lot of symptoms when that started coming into our area. So we decided to like completely escape the US, and it was super unexpected. So yeah, we came here with no expectations. We were in the complete unknown. I feel like that's also what triggered our awakenings as a family together.
Wow. It's incredible that your family, yeah, was so willing to move and explore new countries and have you traveling that much at that age. And just so like, yeah, like any viewers from like my channel or tuning in who aren't familiar with you, you're quite young, which is remarkable to me. How much you know and how much wisdom I've heard you sharing, and the path that you're on, which is super apparent. And so am I correct? You're 19 right now, is that right?
Yes, right now.
Age-wise? That's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And so, and I would say your traveling began at what age exactly? Or how, um,
Yeah, let me
first
think.
time you moved, or,
My traveling, we really like started traveling full time when I was about, I would say like 12 years old.
wow.
Yeah,
Yep.
12,
Cool.
about 12. But like we were in many different states in the US first, and then
Sure.
we decided to like move out. But yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, I moved a lot too as a child a few times, and I started to look at states like in the U.S. they're called states, and each time I moved and I would go back and visit where I had moved from, I realized how much I had grown like internally through moving. And I started looking at the word states like it's a different state of consciousness. Almost like each state that I lived in expanded my state of consciousness. So I was like, oh, this is a new state. That's a new state. That's another state. And it all kind of started correlating, and then I kind of got the travel bug and started to consciously choose places to live and move to and experience. But I can totally relate to that. It really, it's interesting, but when people use plant medicines or other substances to expand their consciousness, they call it like, I don't know, tripping or, traveling internally in a way. But you can kind of stimulate that through traveling in the physical world too. Like every time you gain new perspective and you grow a lot, you connect with others. Everybody you connect with leaves like an imprint on us, I feel, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's kind of it's powerful. It's very powerful. So it's interesting your journey kind of began that way also.
Mhm. Traveling is definitely a very special thing to experience because when you step outside, most of the time when we travel, we're outside of our comfort zones. We're in the unknown. When you step into that field, that space, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like you become addicted to that feeling of constantly like being in the unknown, right? Being outside of your comfort zone, and it triggers a lot of things within, it
Yeah.
gets your energy moving.
Mhm.
Because sometimes like when we're stuck, I'm not saying like living in one place is bad, but like sometimes when people are stuck in one place for too long and they have like the same people that they see, right? And they're doing everything the same. There's neural pathways in their brain that are constantly, programmed to do the same thing. There's almost like there's no room for growth when you think about it, but like because you're constantly in the known.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm sure like you can experience a lot within by staying in one place, but like there's something about traveling that I can't explain. It's like a spiritual experience almost, like when you go from country to country, state to state. It's the best. It's the best way to learn about yourself, learn more about yourself, discover different parts of yourself. I'm so fascinated with traveling. I want to do it all the time. But yeah, have you ever been to like other countries or just like in the US?
Yeah, more recently, like within the past 8 years or so, I went to Costa Rica for a week and attended a weekend retreat there. That was amazing. And I went to Thailand, which was really, really incredible for a month. I spent 2 weeks in Chiang Mai and 2 weeks down in like southern Phuket in Koh Phangan, which was such a beautiful,
Mhm.
magical place. And that was really, really life changing. I was actually nervous. I don't love flying, so like the idea of 14 hours in the air over the Pacific Ocean wasn't exactly like my idea of a great time. But fortunately, my girlfriend at the time encouraged me to get on that plane and do it, and it went really, really well. It was actually the smoothest flight of my life, both ways,
Wow.
because the plane was so big, I think. But it was just heaven out there. It was absolutely such a beautiful country to visit, and the food quality is amazing out there. Like the
Wow.
produce, the mangoes, all the tropical fruit down there. And Koh Phangan's a very conscious like island, you know, one of our friends reached out and called it like Vegan Island or something. Like, you got to go to Vegan Island, Koh Phangan, you'll love it. It's like lots of yoga studios and retreats are held there and festivals and just really, really beautiful people. It's a really beautiful place. So that was a very, very eye-opening experience for me too, experiencing the culture there. But
Amazing. I've never been there, but I've been thinking like we've been thinking about going there. We've been thinking about visiting Thailand in general for a while. But I was actually just watching a video about Koh Phangan yesterday, and it
oh,
looks
really?
really beautiful. Yeah, but I've heard that they installed a lot of the 5G stuff.
Oh,
So
really?
I don't know if you know her, her name on Instagram is Tropical Fruits Romance, Annabella from
Yeah,
Copenhagen.
yeah, I do. We're friends, absolutely.
Yeah, so she sent me a message. I asked her about that, and she said it's like all over the island, and she said I wouldn't recommend to come right now, so maybe in the
Yeah,
future.
that's such a
Yeah,
bummer. Yeah.
I know, but I don't think in Costa Rica it's that bad, so yeah. But yeah, that's amazing that you've been there and you've experienced it, and yeah, I would love to go there. So like, I'm thinking what to ask you. Maybe you should share your spiritual awakening story now.
Okay, cool. And thank you for sharing yours. Yeah, I still have a few questions for you, but yeah, I'll definitely share. Um, it's interesting. Up until I was like between 10 to 16 years old, my life was just cruising along, normal kid. And I was super happy between the age of 10 to 16. We were living in Virginia Beach at the time. I was born in New York, so we had moved once already, but I was really happy moving there. We moved when I was young enough to where I didn't have a ton of friends yet or anything. I was 10 at the time. And I remember, sometimes I think we're just we have like a built-in innate desire to expand our awareness, our consciousness, to learn certain things. Because I remember being probably 12 years old or so, like lying in bed, and I would contemplate things. Like I remember contemplating clearly, like without any outside stimulus, or I hadn't read any books, I hadn't watched, there was no YouTube back then or anything.
Mm.
So just all on my own, like I remember contemplating like infinity and like feeling like, oh my gosh, like either when our body dies, either there's like blackness forever and it ends and there's nothing, which is like kind of a terrifying thought if you think about it as a kid too. Or if that's not true and our consciousness, like our soul or whatever, goes on forever, like ever, like just never ends that direction, that's also kind of like, wow, like a really eye-opening thought. I remember distinctly having that thought come to me, like lying in bed at night,
Mm.
falling asleep. So I was always thinking like deeply. And then like at that same time period, we had like library day on Fridays in like middle school or whatever, elementary school. Everybody would go and pick out, for the most part, I don't know, whatever kind of books or magazines most children that age read. And I found like this obscure little section of the library that had like the Time Life books at the time, like the Great Pyramids, like UFO phenomenon, like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, like all the mysterious stuff, that was like a little bit unanswered and made you think and ponder, like life after death or ghosts, angels, like all of that. I was always drawn to the supernatural, to the point where at that time period, I felt like I was like touched by something, and something might have triggered that, but I'm not consciously aware of what that was. And, but I always keep it in mind, like, what was it?
Mm.
And, it sounds funny because I became very fascinated with like the whole UFO phenomenon, alien abduction, out of nowhere, like seemingly out of nowhere. I became fascinated by that subject, and I wonder, like, holy cow, did something happen? I have no recollection of anything happening, but like something seemed to trigger me searching deeply at that time, and and then I started just attracting like family members. My dad, I have an uncle who's very wise, shared a lot of books with me. My dad's the same. Friends, my first few girlfriends they seemed to be more advanced than me and spiritually, and so wisdom found its way to me through experience and through things we were watching or books I was reading. One of my friends, it's really sad, but he took his own life and left a book called Conversations with God. That was really, really profound for me. I read that book over and over and over. I went to a retreat, met the author, just on my quest to kind of understand why he did that. But he did leave a beautiful note. And he said, don't be sad. Like, he really seemed like it was a conscious choice. And I really believed him. Like, I felt the truth in that. So I was able to cope fairly well with it. But that book changed my life. Like, that was really powerful for many years. And it still is. It's an incredible book.
Wow.
Um, so by that time, I was in my early 20s. And it was just a gradual process. But then a real trigger for me was like 9/11 happened. I
Mm.
was living in Chicago at that point in time. I've lived in 5 or 6 different states probably throughout my life now here in this country, in the U.S. But when 9/11 happened, and I had made some friends that were conscious, and they had showed me some documentaries, and like everything started. I had some experimentation with certain drugs, like ecstasy, for example. It really expanded my consciousness. I was always very deliberate and careful and cautious with any substances. Everything I did was, at this point in my life, was to grow spiritually. So if I went out to a club and listened to music, I was into like deep and progressive house music a lot. it would be like, it would put me in a trance-like state, and I would be in a meditative state. Like I kind of call it my walking meditation. I'm always kind of tapped in and searching to be plugged into like truth and wisdom. And so, yeah, a little bit of like experimentation with certain drugs, very cautiously, but it was still extremely powerful for me. Started writing, and then so by the time 9/11 happened, 2001, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it jolted my reality because it was like something didn't align with what was being shared on the news and the documentaries I had seen, where there were certain clips of footage that just didn't add up, and I was like, this is there's some stuff's not adding up. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to trigger anybody, but like, yeah, it didn't add up, and it made me start to question reality, everything in my physical reality, and it also triggered something in me to let go of my physical world. Like at the time, I just let go of my job, and I basically broke my lease in my apartment, and I backpacked around for the majority of that year, couch surfing. Like all my friends, like bless them, like they were, it's like people are like, come stay with me for a couple of weeks. Then someone else would say, come chill with me for a couple of weeks, and I just found a way to get there and experienced everybody and learned from each of them, and and my family too, of course. But generally, I really like almost experienced intentionally like homelessness and slept in random places and experienced what it was like to 100% tune into and tap into like God. I've never felt, I mean, up until that point, now I've experienced through diet and lifestyle and meditation and plant medicine, I've experienced a really close connection with God, the universe, my higher consciousness, my higher self. But through letting go and surrendering so deeply and being in that receptive state, I felt like back then I used to say it was like I was like walking with God. Like we had our arms around each other, and I felt so guided every step of the way, like so guided where I was going to sleep that night, how I was going to eat, what I was going to do next, who to reach out to, like whatever. It was like such a strong. It was probably the strongest inner intuitive guidance that I felt, next to like literally like my juice feast experience, or when I'm really clean raw, like fruit based low fat raw vegan, for example. You feel very connected. It was like that. And but my diet and lifestyle was a mess back then. I mean, I was experimenting a little bit with healthier food, but really it was not what it is today. So it's fascinating how making I how the animals feel, because they're so reliant on nature and on their intuitive resources for survival, that they're probably very, very much connected intuitively, and they're guided to where the stream is for water, and where their food is going to be located, and where shelter will be, and when there's danger coming or a predator. They probably feel that because, when we're sheltered with a big home, an apartment, and our jobs and our insurance, and we're like, okay, so like whatever happens, I have this kind of like bubble around me that it'll be okay, relatively speaking. But when you open yourself up, same with traveling. When you travel, right, you're more vulnerable, you're more tapped in. You kind of have to be more aware of your surroundings and your intuition and your divine guidance. So that whole experience really, really was a blessing. And I want to like let everyone know, like, so when I moved the first few times, the first time was I was so young, it was fine. But like when I moved from Virginia to Chicago, it was very traumatic for me. It was like what people would describe as like a living hell. I was 16. I was playing sports. I was very popular in Virginia. I loved the weather there. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I had like a little crush girlfriend that we had just met, and like we were holding hands, and like we were right at that point. And then my family, I remember, asked us, what we thought about moving, and my sisters and I were like, please don't do that. We really don't want to. And I know 1,000% that they were doing the absolute best for us. But a few days later, as I recall, or the following week or something like that, we had another discussion, and it was like, oh, we have to move. We're going to move. And my dad had an awesome job offer out there. And so, so off we went. And so that was in the middle of like junior year in high school. It was like so hard for me. I went from being very outgoing, athletic, um, I don't know, just a very happy teenager, to like, I was mad at everybody. I was like so upset. And so, long story short, because this can be a very long story, but I sheltered myself. To some extent, I'm still very much like in a healthy way, but I'm more private and a little more sheltered now than I was like way back as a younger teenager. But it's a conscious decision now, and I'm happy. I love where I'm at. But I, I almost tried out for the basketball team. For example, I played baseball, basketball. I played everything like recreationally growing up, and baseball for my school in Virginia. But I remember going to tryouts and didn't resonate with anybody there. I didn't like the vibe at the new school, and so anyway, I walked out of tryouts, and then I just went inward, and I would basically up till that point I was like an honor roll student, like really incredible grades. I was in gifted programs when I was young, and I really valued that stuff. And then when I moved, I used like my innate intelligence to do as little as possible on purpose, just to coast through high school. Literally, I graduated high school. That last year and a half came down to a extra credit project I did in an accounting class because I dropped out of like my algebra 2 class because it was like too much to memorize and it didn't resonate. And like it came down to like the last week of school that I graduated. And that was intentional because I would spend all my time deep in thought, drawing, doodling, and just in that deep state, that deep meditative state. And so what I like to share with people is like when I look back today, because those experiences like that was one of the most painful, most difficult experiences of my life. My friend taking his life was one of the most difficult experiences of my life. But now I look back and those literally 100% were the most empowering experiences of my life, and they triggered the most growth. And yeah, like I'm infinitely, infinitely grateful for those experiences now. Because that was like that move in particular when I went back to visit all my friends. Every time I went back to visit, I felt like, not in a bad way, but everybody who was still in the same environment still also seemed to have the same interests, the same friends, and the same kind of level of awareness and consciousness. But as I moved state by state by state, I realized, wow, dude, like my consciousness is really expanding. My friends, like my list of friends, even though I'm not trying to make friends at that point, I was not trying to, but I was still making friends. I made friends with all the misfits and the new kids and people that like they were kind of on the fringe, and I kind of resonated with them and gravitated to them, you know, and and made some incredible lifelong friends along this path. But it was beautiful how life will. I really believe that there's something innately inside of us that is reflected back in our physical reality, even when you're not conscious of it, even when you're unconscious, and that's what propels us along. And I always think of like that song by, I don't know, who is it? The Rolling Stones or some, or the Grateful Dead. I don't know who it is. I should know, but I don't. But like, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need, right? And I believe that's because there's something inside of us that is beckoning these experiences. Life is a reflection. It's like, I always say, it's like the universe, and the word you is in there. It's like, it's the you universe. It's a reflection of you. Your life is a reflection of you. Our lives are a reflection of us. And that's why the raw living foods and the cleansing and detoxification and cleaning our vessel out, which in turn cleans our mind and opens up our heart, helps align our soul with our mind, with our physical body, and puts everything in alignment. When that happens, you know, those of us on this journey notice manifestations and beautiful creations popping up because of that, because our vibratory state changes, and because our internal world is shifting, and thus, you know, our external world is shifting in return. It's just a mirror. And so I started becoming aware of all of this, and along the way, after like the Conversations with God book, and my dad had planted, like he didn't mean to, but like somehow he had like Wayne Dyer's books in the house, and I just started reading them, like You'll See It When You Believe It, and a lot of self-help books. My uncle gifted me Think and Grow Rich when I was younger, books by Napoleon Hill and Og Mandino, and both my uncles actually, which I'm grateful for. We had books like this. I'm blessed. My grandmother, I don't know, there was like books of wisdom around us, and I always picked them up and made them my own. And so by then I had read lots of books, and then it grew from like Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra came about. The whole Hay House publishing crew. Carolyn Mace has an incredible book, Anatomy of the Spirit. That was huge. I made an effort to go to certain retreats. I met Wayne Dyer, met Carolyn, I met Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, went to retreats or talks by them, met Deepak Chopra. And by then I was like on my way. So that's kind of how it started. I can go on and on. There's so many intricate details that I feel would be so enlightening for somebody to hear and relate to. But I don't want to go on too long. But like that's how it all began. And so by this point in time, I was well into my 20s, and now I was conscious that I was becoming more conscious, and I knew what consciousness was, and then forget it. And then like I didn't get into the raw foods. I had a couple of girlfriends who went vegetarian. Let's go vegetarian for we went for a couple weeks. Let's go vegan. Two or three friends or girlfriends that wanted to kind of do that together, and so I had some idea. I remember being handed a flyer on the streets of Chicago about veganism, where I just saw it was an awful image of a slaughterhouse or something, and that started to seep in back then. And I remember hearing things about the raw foods a little bit, and I remember going to like a bar with friends, and I brought a bag of like raw like green beans with me, and I'm snacking on them, and I'm drinking water. I wasn't drinking alcohol. I wasn't snacking on chicken wings or anything. And I remember like back then saying, guys, I feel really good on this stuff. But still, I got sucked right back into the kind of standard American lifestyle for years after that. And but seeds were planted, and so yeah. But it wasn't until I was 34 where it really came full force. When I feel like at age 34, I had some health concerns come up. I wasn't feeling good for the first time in my life. I had I had lifelong allergies that were healed within about 2 weeks of going super high raw vegan. But that wasn't even, and then it was crazy because I was taking 2 allergy pills a day for years, for the prior 2 decades. So you would think that would have triggered me to learn a little bit about the body. It didn't, because that's how kind of unconscious I was in that way. But so at 34, I had like chronic fatigue coming on, heart palpitations, anxiety, stuff that was scaring me. I was managing a restaurant in South Beach, Miami. I was loving my life and lifestyle. I was DJing a little bit, so I know I was a part of the club scene. I had a home studio, so I was working on music all through the night, and I loved that. I'm still kind of a night owl, but my lifestyle caught up with me. So yeah, I was doing way too many like stimulants to get through the day, like Red Bulls and espressos and Cuban coffees and you know cold brew coffee and pre-workouts. I would take a pre-workout supplement before the gym, and then I would take another dose of it before work just to start my, because I thought, well, it's a workout supplement. It's not as bad as like whatever else, but yeah, it is. It's really terrible. So like it all caught up with me and it led me to the doctors, and the doctor wanted to put me on a thyroid med. I took it for 2 days and then it did not resonate at all. And that's what sent me on my journey where I started searching how to heal your thyroid naturally. Or I would search like keywords like healed my thyroid naturally or healed my thyroid naturally with diet. I had an intuitive sense that it was my diet and lifestyle messing up things. And I had another really strong sense that if I didn't change that, it would be really detrimental. Like it would be a downward spiral and it would lead to like an awful existence. And so 2 days later, I called the doctor and nurses back at a really prestigious doctor at the time in Miami. And just like in his visit, he was drinking a coffee. He was juggling 5 patients. I didn't feel like he was listening. I didn't feel like he was really tuning into me. So I had a kind of an awful first impression, but I listened to him. I got the pills. I took them for 2 days. And I was doing my research the whole time. And when I called back with some questions, I said, it seems like my dose is a little high. Can I cut it in half? I'm pretty sensitive to stuff. And, are you sure this has to be forever? Is there any way to wean off of it? Because that's what he said in he tried to just slide right by me. He goes, oh, do you take a multivitamin? I said, yeah. He goes, okay, I'm going to prescribe you this. Just take this along your multivitamin every morning. And all those symptoms are going to go away. You're going to feel great. And I said, okay, awesome. How long do I take it for? And he goes, oh, it'll be for the rest of your life. And he told me, your thyroid, you'll become dependent on it, but it'll fix all of this. You'll feel great. It's very common nowadays, he said. It's very common. Like, just do it, you know? And I was like, dude, like my heart was screaming out at me, do not listen. Do not do this. I still did it for 2 days. And my entire family was aware of this whole situation. But when I called them back, they were extremely arrogant and didn't hear me out. They didn't offer any other alternatives, and I had a terrible feeling about that call. And so when I hung up, I threw the pills in the trash, kept searching, and I found Durian Rider on YouTube.
Mhm.
He was the one dude. I guess he has in the he must have had in the hashtags like raw vegan. I wasn't even searching raw vegan. I don't even think I knew what it was at the
Well,
time. He must have had thyroid in the hashtags because I was searching how to heal the thyroid. So I see this dude in Thailand, probably filming it from a flip phone because this was like now 2011 or so, 12, 11. This was 11 years ago, like today, and like I have so much gratitude for him for that video. And that's why I do what I can to get out in front of people now and share, because you never know whose life you're going to change and who you're going to help. But I resonated. I had this prestigious doctor and these fancy nurses in this fancy facility telling me what to absolutely do. Almost everybody in my physical reality was saying, do what the doctor tells you. Like literally everybody. There was nobody on a holistic health journey. Nobody who was vegan, vegetarian, nothing in my family. You know, nobody was on this path. And yet the physical world was like screaming at me like that, and all I could do was follow my heart and soul. And Durian Rider on a flip phone, walking around a pool at his villa in Thailand, going with this thick Australian accent that I could barely understand. But I understood him. I understood him loud and clear when he said he healed his thyroid naturally going raw vegan. So at that point in time, I bookmarked that video and I started searching raw vegan, thyroid, raw vegan, you know, heal your body, whatever. And I discovered the whole raw vegan community, like Christina and Dan McDonald and Dr. Doug Graham, 801010, all of them. My friend Alicia Grant, Raw Synergy, she was really instrumental. Her channel was amazing for detox type videos. And everybody's were. And Durian Rider and Freely and all those guys, like the OGs to me in the raw vegan world, even though there's people that came way before them that are amazing. And that was it. But by the time, and then I was off and running, I went overnight super high raw, like 99% raw overnight, and stayed that way for about 2 months. And I felt like I was on drugs every day. I felt so good. Like I felt like that ecstatic ecstasy, whatever feeling that I had felt prior to that. That was the best I had ever felt. And I didn't do it a ton. I did it selectively here and there, but it always made me feel like, wow. I feel like I can almost read people's mind. I feel so connected to my own heart and soul. Like I feel so inspired and at peace. And that came over me just with that lifestyle change. And so at that point, I was a more clear instrument than I had ever been. I was very conscious by then, very aware, and it all came together. So I really feel like it was all connected. Like all the work leading up to that, I was age 34 and I went through that health crisis, that health opportunity, and that led me. So even that, every single time I had a massive breakthrough, it came from the lowest point. It came from a living hell. I was so confused. Like
wow.
I was so confused. Literally, my sister, my mom, they would tell you, I was in tears. Like I would go visit them and say, I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. My heart just starts revving up for no reason, starts like pounding for no reason. I feel like I'm gonna die if I don't do something different. You know, I was like, I can't, I'm sluggish during the day. I feel like lethargic and sluggish. But at night, I can't sleep. My heart just starts pounding out of my chest, and I'm like wired, and my brain is like spiraling out of control, and my thoughts. I'm like, something is very wrong with me. And I remember I was searching online leading up to like that doctor's appointment. I was just trying to search for what the heck it could be. And you see these websites, these popular medical type websites. And there's like, you'll search like heart palpitation. There's like 1,000 things it could be. You'll search like chronic fatigue or tired or this or that. My blood sugar was crazy. It was out of whack. My blood pressure, I bought a blood pressure machine, a blood sugar tester. I would test that stuff regularly. I was like my own doctor. And when I went on high fruit, I was terrified that first day because I had read like the blood type diet book. I kind of was like moving towards paleo before I discovered Durian Rider. So I cut out anything that was like a pill, potion, powder, like processed food. I cut that stuff out a couple of months leading up to that moment, which was kind of a good move. And looking back, some of that was probably detox symptoms that I was experiencing that I was kind of alarmed with, which is kind of funny. But but yeah, I don't know. By then I was just like it was off to the races. But the real key takeaway for anyone listening, anyone on their journey, is number one, to follow your own heart and soul, your own inner guidance, and trust your innate wisdom and you are one with God. You are one with your universe. You can trust your compass, which is in your heart and soul. I mean, for me at least, like that's literally my final message. Like if I'm on my deathbed, that's what I'm going to tell everybody, my friends, my family, my nieces, my nephew, like everybody. Please do this, and you'll live a happy, fulfilled, empowered life. And and then there's a million different things that stem from that. But that I believe will keep everybody firmly on their path. And everyone's path is different, but they will get there if they follow their heart and soul, you know. And so I'm infinitely grateful that I had the spiritual like the experience with myself to learn to trust my own intuitive guidance leading up to that health crisis, and so that I could make that empowered decision. That I trusted someone on you. I trusted my own heart, first of all, that I could heal myself before I even found Durian Rider. Then he was a reflection of my own belief in myself, you know. But I remember everybody, even after I discovered it, and I went to like the grocery store the next day and bought like $150 worth of fruit and vegetables, and I was terrified to make that first smoothie, which was like lots of bananas and berries and some greens, and it was super high sugar in my mind. And I was pricking my fingers like 10 times a day. I'm not kidding. I remember spending like $100 a month on the little tester strips for this blood sugar machine. Because I would test it fasted and before breakfast, during breakfast, after breakfast, before lunch, during lunch, after. I really wanted to understand. And I was astonished that I made this smoothie. And I remember I was like, dude, there's a couple 100 grams of sugar in this thing. And I'm like, and I had blood sugar fluctuations when I was on the paleo, like spectrum. Like I would eat like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a turkey sandwich for lunch or something crazy like that. You know, maybe this was right before like the paleo. I wasn't strict, but like whatever I was having, it was more meat and cheese and vegetable based. So it was too high fat, clearly. But I remember having things like a wrap or these meals I was making. You know, eggs with whatever, some cheese and some like sauteed spinach on the plate and tomato or some weird stuff like that that I would never eat again. But like my blood sugar was out of whack, and so it astonished me when I drank that smoothie. And I was cautious. I drank it gradually. It took probably 2 or 3 hours to drink, but my blood sugar was rock solid, and it's been rock solid mostly ever since. There's been a couple days if I go a little too high on avocado or nuts and seeds, I'll notice a little bit of like the beginning of like what would be like a little blood sugar reaction if I go too high on fats. But I've learned, you know, obviously keeping your fats lower is what fixes that. And so, yeah, 2 weeks after discovering this, I was still taking my allergy pills. I had terrible, terrible allergies, and I went to take them, and like my intuition just said, "You don't need those anymore. Try today without them," basically. So I put them down. I didn't take them that day, and I felt fine. And I did the same thing the next day. I felt fine. The next day, felt fine, and I've never taken an allergy pill since. And then I learned, like, you know, the mucus diet healing system. I was just inundating my body with mucus throughout my life. Lots of eggs, lots of dairy, lots of mucus forming processed foods. And I was like smothering myself to death. I was, yeah, killing myself with diet and lifestyle. And so anyway, by the time that happened, I was like 100% convinced, and I started preaching about it. But anyway, I'll end right there, I guess. But my journey continues, of course. And now I've had some beautiful plant medicine ceremonies, 2 beautiful ayahuasca ceremonies that were 2 of the most beautiful experiences of my life. This entire journey has been probably the most powerful experience of my life, easily. My juice feast was, like the extended juice feast was like one of the most powerful experiences of my life by far. And I feel like I'm in a really solid place now. And life is beautiful. I want everyone to know that.
Mm. Wow.
That's pretty
That
much
was
it. Yeah.
amazing. Thank you for sharing, John. Ayahuasca is really powerful. I've never done it before, but maybe in the future, because I've heard like when people do it, it's like, you know, some people go through ayahuasca when they're already like, you know, going through their awakening, but ayahuasca really like takes it to the next level. Like, how did you feel before you did ayahuasca compared to after?
I felt much more clear, like a crystal after. especially during, and it kind of tails off. For me, it tailed off over the course of a few weeks after. It lingers. Like the next day, I still felt very heightened, very tuned in, very sensitive to everything. And it just lingered. It lingered for a few weeks and tails off.
Wow.
But very, very sensitive. It almost, okay, so let's say, and I want to first say, for anyone who does think about it, you know, there's shaman out there, and there's a lot of people doing it for profit now, and you have to be cautious. It found me when I did it. A friend called me in the afternoon, hey, would you like to come listen to a shaman make a, you know, speak, attend a lecture with me? I said, yeah, absolutely. And when we showed up, it was a beautiful lecture. But afterwards, there was going to be a ceremony. I had no idea. And it wasn't just that night, because when I walked in that room, my heart pulled me so hard. Like I was like, oh my God, this is like family I'm with. Like this is something that's going to be so special. Like it was such a strong heart pull. Like I literally pull on my shirt. I'm like, it was just the same way Durian Rider was pulling me. It was like, wow. And so after the lecture too, and the resonance I felt for the shaman there, I knew I had to do it. Like I knew, like I have to do this. I was terrified to do it, but I knew I had to. So the next day we came back. And I'm so infinitely grateful to my friend for inviting me to that lecture too. But we came back and we attended the next day, and it was ayahuasca and then San Pedro in the morning. But the key there was, even though shaman are beautiful and they're highly intuitive and they drink with you and they're right there with you and you're supposed to have an understanding of how much you're supposed to drink and everything. My intuition wanted me to drink much less than everybody else. And again, I was on a high raw plant-based lifestyle at the time. I think I was 4 years into it at the time. I was more sensitive than probably most people. So that first time I just sipped it. I mean, I literally started out dipping my pinky in it, like touching it to my lip. And I was like meditating. I was like, what gift do you have for me? Why are you calling me to you? And like it started the dialogue, and then I just wet my lips with it, and then I had the smallest little sip. And so everyone else got a whole shot, threw back the entire shot. An hour later started purging, like throwing up, and had very, very like, what's the word? Like, I don't know, they had strong reactions to it. And I know it was probably a really intense experience, and it was probably deeply valuable ultimately, I hope. But I kind of feel like it could be a little traumatic too. And I loved my experience because prior to that, I had already cleansed my body so well. I didn't feel like there was anything to purge. And in fact, Mother Ayahuasca told me there wasn't. And one of the first things she shared with me was, thank you for being on this journey. And this journey is one of the best things a human being can do with their life, for the planet, for the animals, for themselves, for the awakening of the planet, for the consciousness of the planet. It's like you have a dialogue with the plant spirit. It's magical, right? And she also told me the first vision I had was of my mom passing away. My mom had had a lung transplant 10 years prior, and that's not the magic fix because it was a really hard 10 years for her, and her airway started closing up again, and I kind of knew we were coming down to that point, but I had a clear vision she was going to pass away very soon. And it's a kind of thing where as soon as I had an image, you think, why am I seeing this? And the answer comes immediately. Like you're one with God, one with Mother Ayahuasca, you're one with yourself. You don't doubt anything. I mean, I literally packed up my apartment in Santa Monica at the time and moved back to Florida, like immediately. Like broke my lease. It was like $5,000 to break the lease properly, you know? I didn't even question it. And my girlfriend at the time, like bless her, she kind of missed her family too, and she supported us leaving, even though we loved our time there. And my mom passed away within a few months of me going back. And I would have never done that without the plant medicine ceremony. And so, anyway, I'm going off on so many little tangents and paths here, but for anyone who's thinking of doing that sort of thing, I really believe in listening to your intuition regarding how much to have. So I didn't purge. Both times I did it, I didn't purge. It was a beautiful experience. It came on nice and gradually. It faded away nice and gradually. I felt like it's just like drinking alcohol or doing drugs. You just don't want to overdo it. You want to keep it in the sweet spot. Like when I used to drink, just keep it in the sweet spot. Like don't just get annihilated. And the same with plant medicines, the same with food. Like, but I like to always preface my experience by saying that, like, kind of like when I talk about juice feasting, I always preface it by saying, please understand how to break your juice feast before you begin one. Please do a ton of research before you begin one. And please be strongly called from your own heart and soul before you even consider doing one, even for a day. So like, that's the same. But yeah, it was incredible, and it left me feeling basically, I can equate the feeling of being on ayahuasca to how I felt deep into my 230-day juice feast. Like when I was on day like 90 and beyond, you feel so connected, so sensitive to everything. Everything is so heightened that it's absolutely amazing. And that's kind of what it does for you within an hour, like as soon as it comes on. No matter what, like, even though my lifestyle wasn't quite where it is today, back then, it still did it. People who lived very different lifestyles were doing it. And, if they had a lot of improper food in their bodies, or a lot of food that probably didn't belong there, they purged like crazy. I was watching them, I mean, and hearing them, and it's just, they're purging like absolute crazy. And for me, it was just bliss. And it was this feeling of gratitude from Mother Ayahuasca's spirit, just saying like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And came away from it really feeling like I knew my calling to stay on the raw, to keep striving to remain, to learn how to get to the point of being fully raw, fruit-based, and to keep working on myself, keep cleansing, keep detoxifying, keep spreading this message. It's the best thing for the place. Like, it literally will save the planet. It'll save those on the planet who want to survive whatever comes up next. I think we have to raise our frequency to a certain level, and things that happen, like all of the health crisis in the world, that affects people who are not vibrating at that level of health and vitality and wisdom and consciousness. So you want to get up above that to live and to thrive and you know to move human evolution forward, basically. This all came very clear to me in those ceremonies. A lot came to me, but these are some of the key takeaways from it. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful experience. And one thing that came to me, which is also good for the planet, is we don't need the plant medicine. It's becoming a very trendy thing, and it's becoming something that people do for profit. I think please only do it if you feel really called to do it. Otherwise, you can get there in a very gradual, very beautiful, very holistic way by changing your diet and lifestyle. By what I believe, like for me, it was moving towards a whole food, plant-based, fully raw or very high raw lifestyle. And it might take you 10 years to reach that point where you're clean enough to where you're, like right now, I feel like I'm in a perpetual state of bliss and peace and clarity and connection with God, with the universe. And it's been a 10-year gradual, beautiful journey, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I believe I was very much in tune with myself from the beginning, and this is the way my body wanted me to do it. I never had any detox that was so intense or so debilitating that I absolutely couldn't work or anything. The first month or two, I think I was in between jobs anyway, and it was perfect timing, and my girlfriend at the time was an angel and was super supportive of that transition. But it was a beautiful gradual journey, and that's why I always encourage people when it comes to the whole raw food transition to follow their heart, listen to their body. Like my body took me after those first couple of months. I started having the salt cravings and the savory cravings, and I probably wasn't quite getting enough calories or doing it quite right back then. And like I'm pretty sure I was probably a little too high on the salads and greens and probably the overt fats and stuff. And now I'm higher with fruit, juices, smoothies, mono meals of fruit, and I kind of use like the nuts and seeds and avocado and greens as like supplementation almost to the fruit-based diet and lifestyle. And now I believe we're frugivores by nature. The bulk of our diet should be fruit and tender greens and some nuts and seeds and overt fats like that, plant-based fats. But I don't know. I feel like I'm wrapping up this segment of sharing, but
Yeah.
you can trust your body. Like I allowed myself. That's what I was gonna get at. To rock back and forth between some rice, still some beans, some steamed veggies, occasional like treat meals, like especially in California, my God, it's like a double-edged sword. They have awesome produce there, but there's
Yeah.
so many amazing plant-based restaurants. And for a couple of years, 2.5 years, I worked for one of my favorite plant-based restaurants, beautiful restaurant in Newport. And the food and I love our chef. I love everything he prepares. I love our like every dish on the menu, and I allowed myself to taste and have meals like that for dinner pretty regularly. And it was a whole food plant-based restaurant. It was pretty darn amazing, but it wasn't like fully raw all the time. So, but doing that when as I rocked back and forth, the contrast was teaching me. Like I feel best when I'm raw. You know, I feel heavy. I feel like I'm putting something in my body that doesn't belong there for me. It doesn't digest as well. It I feel less outgoing. I feel less connected and intuitively spiritually. So that's another that's something else I like to share. You can trust your body. It'll take you a nice if your deepest intention is to heal and cleanse and detoxify, then you can trust your impulses day to day to relax a little and go this way and then go more strict. Like, you know, I did cleanses throughout that period. I was always striving to be fully raw, but when I felt like it was too much for me, I allowed myself some of the cooked vegan foods and whole food plant-based meals. But ultimately, it got me here. So, yeah, that's good to know too. We don't have to put too much pressure on ourselves on our journey. It kind of, like I said, from your deepest intention and from this kind of imprint that we're born with, I feel our soul comes with us in our soul probably. Everything kind of unfolds naturally from that. At least that's been my experience. It's a beautiful journey. You can just relax and kind of float downstream with it and enjoy the journey and trust that you're going to end up right where you want to be in every facet of life, relationships, you know, career, health, wellness, lifestyle, where you live, everything. It'll all come together. That's it. That's enough for me. It's a lot.
Beautiful, John. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, we have to allow ourselves to make mistakes too, because like when I started about like 9 months ago, and I started because I had a health condition that I like really wanted to get rid of. And yeah, so when I started this lifestyle, it happened through stress. Like, I made a decision to go fully raw because I was like really desperate. So it wasn't really gradual, but like once in a while I had some like cooked veggies here and there. But I made some mistakes, but like, you know, that's how you learn. But yeah, detox for me was very intense. Maybe because I went like I transitioned so fast. But like yeah, like the first 2 weeks, the condition I was experiencing was almost gone, but the detox I was experiencing was like crazy. So yeah, like if any of you guys out there who are watching this um, want to go fully raw, like you want to try out this raw food diet, you know, go gradual. Don't do it all at once because, you know, we've accumulated a lot of toxins and stuff from the environment, from our food, from water that we drink over time, you know. So if you go all at once and you transition all at once, your body's going to have a very, very hard time, you know, adjusting because like everyone's different. But like for me, and I'm so young, I'm only 19, but my detox journey was really rough. So yeah, like that's why a lot of people I think go back to their old diets and their old lifestyles because they like get into it really, really fast and they think the detox reactions they're experiencing is like them dying or something, you know?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, gradual.
it's easy to be knocked off the path there's a few different ways you can easily be knocked off, but that's why it's really valuable to be some. I always tell everyone too, I share that for me, education has been my foundation on this raw vegan journey, on my, you know, for my entire life in every possible way, but especially on the raw vegan journey. I started with YouTube. I've watched probably thousands of videos by now. I still do every day. It's never ending. I still read every book. And one of my favorite books is like the Essene Gospel of Peace, and now I've got like one book here, one on the way about the discovery of it, or you know, the spiritual aspects of the Essenes. Like I'm always going deeper, deeper, deeper. Like I have a thirst for knowledge, for wisdom, and I experience tremendous joy in sharing, just being a clear instrument of like this thirst for it, and then allowing myself to just receive it, and then just allowing myself to share it. And it's like this flow, and it's like the best feeling in the world, you know. But that's the foundation, is like education, education, education. And it's experience has been one of my greatest teachers. Experience and contrast. Because I made the first, God, I mean, the first 34 years of my life, I made the majority of my decisions were probably the worst possible choice to make regarding where I wanted to go and then what I was choosing to do. I'm like, what was I thinking? But that's how you gain wisdom. Like, I think my uncle said that. Like, how do you gain wisdom? He goes, how do you gain something about experience and wisdom? But like, you gain it by making bad decisions, you know, and that's how you learn. So contrast and experience are king. So when you're young, it's like just do your best and flow with it. Because either you're going to make the right decision and you're going to just align with like heaven on earth regarding that decision and be like, yeah, dude, this is amazing. Or you're going to make an awful decision, but it's gonna change you inside, and you're going to learn something. And if you're aware and you're an astute student of life, you're going to pick up on that and be like, okay, now I know. Now I know how I feel about this. That's not going to happen again. And that wisdom and knowledge is more valuable than the blissed out. It literally is more valuable than the blissed out experience of making the right decision. And that, so in other words, everything's the right decision. There's nothing to worry about, because that knowledge and wisdom you gain from those contrasting experiences are priceless, and they come with you for eternity. They go with you forever. They're built in. They become part of your new blueprint, your new imprint, your soul's imprint. You take it with you. You take that wisdom with you. So it's almost like once I learned that, I started to get into like where people say, "Oh, you seem like you have it together." Or you kind of seem like, I don't even want to use that word, but like in a way enlightened, like someone who doesn't let things ruffle their feathers too much. I'm always kind of happy. It's because it's all good. Like people say, it's all good, bro, whatever. It really is. Like when when you realize every one of your living hell experiences turns out to be 100% of the time, not just sometimes, every one of them became the most empowering, best thing that ever happened to me. It made me who I am today, which I'm very happy with who I am today. Then you know, next time something comes up that seems like, oh man, like this giant hurricane that just came through is super devastating. Like all I see is the silver lining in everything, you know? And it becomes like, it becomes who you are. You just become overwhelmingly positive and happy and at peace. Your trust in God and the universe and yourself becomes great, and life becomes easier and more enjoyable. And then it just starts snowballing. There's like an attractive force behind that. You start aligning and attracting just things you've always dreamt of, and people you've always wanted to meet and hang with and connect with. And
It's amazing.
it's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like the prize at the end of like the video game. Like you have to go through a bunch of things first, learn your lessons, experience different things, right? Because at the end of the day, we're here to experience, right? We go from lifetime to simply experience the same thing in different, to experience source from different like aspects, from different, how do I say this? Perspectives, right? So like we come here for experience, but then after you learn your lessons that you came here to learn, like that's where you get to experience like all of it. And that's the most exciting part. So, you know, this journey that we're all going through together, it's worth it, because, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, it's amazing like what the universe starts giving you when you just do it, when you do the work, when you are dedicated and committed to your growth. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It is beautiful. It is. The fact that you are 19 years old and you're aware of all of this, it is so impressive to me. I just want to say you're on an incredible path. You're, I don't know, you're on a beautiful journey ahead of you, and it's just awesome that you're this conscious already. I was a total mess when I was 19. Like a total mess. Absolute mess. For many years after, and you're off to an amazing start. So you've been blessed. You've been like anointed with this thing that kind of woke you up, and it's a blessing. And I just want you to know that too, Shelly. It's really incredible. And the fact that what you just shared, it's like you're right about that. It's life is a beautiful blessing, and like they say, our tests become our testimonies, and there's not much else I can say. It's just want to bring some peace and understanding, and there's just a lot of pain out there, and a lot of confusion, and a lot of people who are not feeling ecstatic all day, every day, and not in great shape, and their bodies are not in great shape, and they're feeling a lot of pain and suffering, and I just want them to know it doesn't have to be that way. We have to shift our desires to, we have to really genuinely, truly want an understanding. We have to really seek wisdom, basically. And it comes, like, you know, seek and you shall find. Like, that's a very, very true quote. And there's a lot of people, they want other things, I think, but they don't realize they do, you know. They want things on the material plane, a little more on the surface, and they're not aware of what their heart and soul is really longing for. So you realize, like, things manifest from, like, what you yearn for from down here in your heart and soul. Like, that's what shows up, what you're yearning for. So a lot of people, their soul is probably learning for understanding, knowledge, wisdom, connection, opportunity to be loved to people. They don't see it that way. You know, they think they're yearning for the stuff that's in their mind. A certain car, a certain home, a certain zip code, area code, certain phone, certain clothing brands, you know, a certain relationship for whatever reason, because they're hot, like whatever. But it's deeper than that. And when you align with that deeper quality, that's when it gets really good, you know. At least in my experience.
Yeah. Most people have this constant longing for something and they don't know where it's coming from. Like I'm sure most kids my age, like when we think about it, why are teenagers like so bad considered in today's world? Like, why are they like always not obeying, the school system and like they're always trying to be rebels and stuff? Well, it's because they feel like there's something severely wrong with what they're in, and when you get to a certain point, especially between like, you know, being a teenager, like a young kid, and between like being, yeah, a young kid and an adult, you get to this point where you start to kind of realize things, like, and you start to question things. Not all kids go through this, but um, yeah, I don't know how to explain this, but everyone has this deep longing for something in this world because we're not living the way we're intended to live. Most of the people on this planet are living a distorted life. And yeah, like you just keep finding solutions. Search for wisdom. Like if you're going through a hard time in life, don't quit. There is so much more out there for you to experience and to explore. This life is amazing once we start to step outside of our boxes and our jails that we've created for ourselves. Once we start to step outside and become curious and be like children again, the universe will give you um, clues and hints. You just have to, step outside of your comfort zone and show your curiosity to the universe. Don't be afraid to be in the unknown. And a lot of things will be shown to you. And yeah, it's really beautiful. And I know there's so many kids out there. Like I have this deep desire to like help kids, especially like teenagers. There are so many out there that are really suffering because, there's a new wave of kids that are coming onto Earth right now, like the new age kids. And, a lot of them are really struggling because they don't belong in these systems and they don't belong in such a distorted, they don't belong in such a distorted world. They belong in the new world. And I feel like that's what we're bringing onto this planet. And yeah, like if you guys have kids, I don't know what you should do, but I just take them out of the schools because I feel like that's the main thing that is keeping kids in such a low vibrational state. These school systems are like, I would say, jails for kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm so grateful I got out of school so young. I feel like that's a big reason why I am who I am today. But Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I agree 1,000%. And I feel like even though I stayed in high school and technically graduated, I dropped out in my mind a couple of years prior where I just didn't tune into what was being taught. I was in my own world and I picked up on just enough to pass my tests and my quizzes and squeak right through. That was it. But like back then, it wasn't as prevalent to be homeschooled or anything. It had to be, you had to go through something kind of traumatic to be homeschooled. It was very rare. Nowadays, there's so many options for private school, homeschooling. Like, it's amazing, dude. And most of what I've learned in life, yeah, a lot of it's come through reading books, but a lot of it's come through YouTube and just through downloads. Now, once I started cleaning my body out, just stuff just comes directly in. That's like the most
Mhm.
potent stuff. It's like almost like my favorite way to learn and receive information and guidance. But yeah, that's like an old antiquated system, and it was good early on, like learning how to tie my shoes and do basic math, and all the way up to maybe long division. After that, it's like I could have bounced out of there like before high school even started and started my journey. And that's pretty much what I wanted. By the time I was 16, I knew like, okay, I'm gonna be on a whole different path here. This is not me. College wasn't even a I went to music production school for like 2 months, and I even dropped out of that. I was like, dude, whatever I want to do musically is like I want to play my own tracks in clubs for people and take them on a journey, like a shaman of sound, basically. I want to produce stuff from my heart and soul that's like original and unique and makes people feel something. And I could drop samples and words in there that might open their mind up. Like I knew that I didn't need to learn. I just instead of spending the money in school, just buy some gear and just do it. Just start doing it. So that's what I ended up doing there too. Like, I don't know. Life is just everything is for profit now, man. You can't. The schools, colleges, like they make a fortune. It's all the medical system, pharmaceutical industry. They're making a fortune on people, and
Wow.
so of course it's designed to make you feel like everyone wants you to. There's people on social media right now. There's people in the raw vegan community that they want to. They're creating products and then making you feel like you need their product. And that's not the case. Like I want to tell people like you just need to tune into your own heart and soul and to trust yourself and to trust that life is good, God is good, the universe is good, and you can trust your own inner guidance. You don't need anything from anyone. You don't need anything from anyone. You're self-contained. You've got everything you need, you know. You don't need to
Yeah.
like tell people they need certain things and then create like a recipe book for it and then like promote that. It's always on sale. It's always 25% off no matter when. It's always a limited time, but it's always on sale. Like it's just so much bullshit in the world. And it even seeps into like our community here and stuff. I have no tolerance for it. Like it's time to just be honest, be truthful, just share what you have
Mhm.
in your heart, whether it's awesome to share recipes. Share in your heart and soul, from your heart and soul to everybody. And yes, you can even like charge for them, whatever, but like just don't try to pull a fast one. Like it just gets old. I don't think like the new generation, the new like you said, the new kids coming onto earth, like those of us waking up, we don't take the bait, we don't fall for it. We're just like, no, no,
Mhm.
unfollow. I'll place my attention elsewhere. Like, and it's sometimes it's like you're close, but like no cigar. Like I don't like salesy stuff. I don't like it. And so especially like in the medical world and in like the school system and all these antiquated kind of systems that aren't even working. They're not even working. Kids come out of college with 100 grand in debt and can't even get a job and they're in debt forever and they're suicidal and they're depressed a lot of the time. Like it's a ton of pressure to have on your shoulders to come out of school with that kind of debt, which is insane. The whole idea of debt's insane too. But like, and then the same with like the whole medical and pharmaceutical industry. No one's healing anybody. Like, I have family members that go to the doctors for a decade, 2 decades. They have a basket of fucking pills. Pardon my French. They have a basket of pills that's slowly taking out their kidney and their liver and their eliminative organs because their body can't keep up. And they're never healing and they're never getting it. Like it's like, when are you going to realize nobody's healing you in that building? So
Wild.
yeah, it's all, I don't know. There's some people waking up, and I love that. And I think we should all be sharing about everything and planting seeds everywhere and ushering in the new earth, basically. That's a whole nother topic. I feel like because I do have a meeting at 3, so I have to hop off in probably 10 minutes or so. But like,
Of course.
we could talk about this stuff pretty regularly. There's so many avenues that open up stemming from our spiritual awakening journeys. It's just, it all kind of seeps into everything else. And I have like so many friends popping on, like, I don't know, I see like Dulce and Albert and Kirill was on, like people are saying hi. And yeah, it would be so cool too to do another one or more of these where we could actually too like let people ask questions or like respond to the comments and like connect with
Sure.
everybody. I really love that. But like, this is my favorite topic to talk about, how the raw living foods and that lifestyle and detoxifying our living temple applies to every other aspect of our lives, especially our experience and the laws of creation and manifestation and all of these beautiful topics. So
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun here.
Yes, me too. We should definitely do this often. And I feel like there's so much more to talk about. Like once you scratch the surface, there's like a whole, section of information that we can dive into. So
Yeah.
yeah, we should definitely do like a Q&A because I'm sure a lot of people have questions and stuff and they want to get to know more about us, and stuff like that. Or if they have like questions about, how to transition, like, yeah, maybe we should do like a Q&A or something.
I would love that. Definitely. Q&A would be really, really awesome, really valuable. There's no shortage of information that I know we can both share on and on. And I have questions for you still too. Like there's so many details and they're so valuable, I think, to share with others because they'll apply it to everyone else's journey as well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah.
details sometimes, like I think there's even a quote like God is in the details. And I'm not overly religious. Like I probably said God 18 times in this live stream. But like to me, God is like we're one with God. We are God. The universe is God. Nature is God. It's all connected. When I say God, I just mean like life, you know. But yeah, it's life is beautiful. It's all so beautiful. And,
All good. Yeah.
mhm.
Amazing. This conversation was so enlightening. Like, I just feel like 1,000 times lighter than I did before we hopped on this live. So,
Me too.
yeah.
I feel really good right now. I really don't. I'm kind of bummed. I don't want to even get off, but I
Yeah.
still have like 10 minutes if we wanted. If there's any questions, or if you'd like to share anything else, I feel like I shared a little bit more than you. Like it hasn't been a 50-50 share here.
I don't really know like what to say. I'm kind of like in this space where I don't really have a lot of words. I'm really spacey right now, so like I don't know. But I don't know what else to say. Like, it's been a gradual journey for me as well. It doesn't happen overnight like people think.
Yeah.
And we just have to be gentle with ourselves and not judge ourselves all the time. Like it's okay. We're human. It's totally fine to make mistakes, to beat ourselves up once in a while. But like at the end of the day, we have to realize that we've all come a pretty long way, and we have to pat ourselves on the back once in a while. It's not easy.
Mhm.
And I used to judge myself a lot. I still judge myself often. I'm very hard on myself. So I'm working through that. But like we need to realize that like it's all good. It doesn't matter, um, what you did wrong with your diet or your lifestyle or whatever. Like we've all been there, but it's okay. We have to realize that and just pick ourselves back up and keep going. Because I feel like as humans, we can be very self-judgmental and like very, we critique ourselves a lot, and it sometimes gets too overwhelming. So yeah, just like take it easy on yourself. And there's a lot going on in the world, a lot of different energies. Like today, I've been feeling sad for absolutely no reason, and I had no reason, so I didn't know where it came from. But like, just allow yourself to feel everything that comes up. Don't judge yourself, and yeah, enjoy the ride.
Really good advice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be too sensitive picking up someone else's sorrow. If you're thinking about someone and you kind of tune into their energy, and I've noticed that sometimes too.
Mm.
It could be that. But yeah, I think compassion on with ourselves, patience and compassion with ourselves and others, like that's another whole thing. It's like in the raw vegan world, compassion is like it's like the reason it's like it's supposed to be one of the main reasons we're vegan, raw vegan, right? Compassion for the planet, the animals. So like, got to be accepting of each other and stuff too. Even if someone goes back and eats some animal, you know, animals, or a less healthy lifestyle, or we have disagreements with certain things, like just be compassionate, be cool with each other, understanding. Because most people have like a lot of pressure going on already, a lot, um, just a lot going on already. So like love, compassion, understanding is really crucial. So I want to see more of that in the raw vegan community too. I feel like we're really kind of like the way showers in a lot of ways. Like this is something that can heal everybody. Not maybe not everybody in every way, but like moving in this direction, I think overwhelmingly would be very, very good for most people in the world. The planet itself, obviously all the animals sharing the planet with us. So like I feel like not just with like the food related stuff that we're sharing, but with how we present ourselves and how we interact with the world around us and with others. I think that says a lot to when people attack our community, for example, just show up with love and kindness. And you don't have to. You can block someone. You can like tune them out. But just be like, I understand where you're coming from. I'm sending you love anyway, and I'm just gonna keep doing what feels right to me. And
Mm.
time will tell. That's all. Like time will tell. I always say
That-
that, like with everything, even like relationships, feelings, this or that. Like, dude, time will tell. Give it 2 years. 2 years from now, you'll know. You'll be crystal clear about this specific thing, whether it's diet or a relationship or an opportunity, a job, career-wise, whatever. Time is powerful. Also, so patience is an incredible tool to have. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to say before we finish. Um, we need to get together as a community. Like I feel like there's so many people out there who are feeling like they're doing everything right. They're doing the raw vegan diet, they're like awakening, but they have this deep loneliness, right? And I believe as humans we're not designed to like be lonely all the time and stuff. And I've had this like deep calling to like I don't know, like get some people together and just like create something. Maybe like I don't know. I feel like we need to get together because together we're much more powerful than when we're like alone, in different parts of the world.
yeah,
But connecting online is like really powerful, but like you know what I mean?
yeah,
So I don't know how we will make this happen, but I feel like my dream has always been to like create like a community of people of all ages, but like people who share a common goal, who believe in the same vision. Um, well, I don't know if it's going to be like an in-person community or an online community, preferably in person.
yeah.
But yeah, we should do something because I see a lot of people here in the chat who are commenting are like, I don't know, they're just really cool, and it would be so cool to like meet all together in person.
Absolutely, I would love that too. And in person, in the physical, when it goes from online, virtual, kind of from the cyber version into like the physical, kind of anchors it all in. It makes it feel real too. Like so, going to festivals has been powerful for me. Like the Woodstock Fruit Festival or the Texas Fruit Festival. Going to Fruit Lux, like meetups, is really powerful. I like that idea. I like the idea of like massive fruit, like during Ryder and Freely did like the Thai Fruit Fest back quite a few years ago, but it was like a loosely organized festival. I don't believe there was any ticket sales. They just had like basically events for like a week of their ideal week of like an amazing bike ride up to the top of this mountain and then a big fruit luck lunch for lunch after, and then we're going to go to this raw restaurant for dinner, and then like so every day there were events, activities, yoga, ecstatic dance, whatever, but it was like loosely arranged. There were, everybody brought their own food, or paid for their own meal at dinner, or so there was nobody really coordinating it, trying to profit from it, and it seemed to be a really successful, like kind of like festival. It's like somewhere between a fruit luck and a festival, kind of a real organic meeting of the minds. Like they would get together in like, beautiful parks and stuff, and just intuitively somebody would start speaking about a topic, and everybody would gather around them, and then when they were through, somebody else would be inspired to share, and it was like this really beautiful, like we don't have to necessarily organize everything. Like again, like God, the universe, energy, spirit can organize it. we can just basically set an intention, maybe plant a few seeds, maybe start a little group saying, hey, during this week, let's all come together and celebrate this lifestyle and help one another out and connect in person and then let it unfold. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I've been inspired by something similar to that too. I've got some friends too who have been in the lifestyle for a while that would be interested. So something's brewing, you know, we'll definitely keep it in mind and keep expanding on that idea. That's beautiful, like that you're inspired to contribute in that way, because that's really it's really powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to go now, or do you want to continue a little bit more?
I
Or
really do have to go. I'm probably gonna be, yeah, I have to hustle up. Sorry, everybody. Tanya popped in. So many cool people came in on this chat. We'll have to do another one.
Yeah, let's do another one for sure. I didn't read the chat, but yeah, I can barely see your face because the setup is really weird. So I only see my, that's why it kind of looks like I'm like hearing you talk on the phone. Like I'm not really engaging.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so now I see your face.
I understand. No problem.
Okay. All right, you have to go now. So yeah, let me know when you're free. Maybe we can do another one. We can talk about something completely different. We can, do a Q&A or whatever. So
Yeah,
time.
that would be awesome. I feel like, yeah, I could probably do a couple a month, if we would like to, just kind of, it can be a kind of a series of like, as long as like spirit keeps inspiring us to, at least, there's definitely more we can be sharing, I think. And there's so many amazing people. I know, like, on my page, a few people said, oh, it's like, I know we had to reschedule it, and they said, oh my gosh, I was really looking forward to that talk. So there's a lot of interest on this subject, I feel. So I think that's a really cool idea. But, well, yeah, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. And we did all right. We almost went an hour and a half. It's pretty good live.
Yeah.
And thank you, Shelly, for this was your amazing idea. So thank you. It's epic to be on with you. It's an honor. And
thank you, John. I will let you know when we can do it another time. Maybe we can do like once a month or something, so it doesn't have to be too like repetitive or anything.
That sounds good. Yeah, once a month is a nice flow. I like that.
All right, John, I will let you go.
All right, guys. All right.
Beautiful day. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks, everybody. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye, John.
Bye, guys. Bye, Shelly. Much love.